It has been so long since I've done a roundup review of Playdate games that they announced Season 3. They literally announced Season 3 to overshadow this video specifically. I'm your cool Uncle Marissa, and I'm back with some more games that you guys sent in to share with the rest of you who haven't sent in games. Or you sent in a different game. What a coherent and wonderful introduction to this video. Once again, we have games from every genre. I've got rhythm games, arcade games, RPGs for you, so I feel like there is something here for everyone. Some of these games I actually was like super excited about and following devlogs for, and whenever I'm doing that and then the dev reaches out to me and is like, oh, can you review our game? I'm like, what? I've been looking forward to your game, actually. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Playdate community. I was a bit late on catching up with the Playdate Community Awards, but I was on the list of Playdate community heroes, which like just warmed my heart so much. And I love this community so much. I don't understand why it's so perfect and wonderful and just oh my God. So a huge thank you to whoever got me on that list. That was a really good show. I definitely recommend tuning in. There is some music at the end as well, some covers of different like Playdate songs and stuff. Stellar show. And some of the games that I've got with me today are actually nominees and winners of various Playdate Community Awards, which is pretty neat. Without further ado, and without further ado, I don't have any plans on sneezing, that is. Let's take a look at these games. Crankstone feels like being in an old-timey carnival from the old movies. Maybe they still exist in other places in the US. Sound off if you are from other places in the US. Crankstone has 3 modes, story, daily, and saloon, and the main gameplay is a gallery shooter. The art style is really cute and has that cardboard cutout feel that you would expect at this kind of carnival. The controls are a mix of the crank and buttons, so it's super intuitive, and the difficulty goes up each level in a manner that, as someone who's really bad at these kinds of games, feels fair. Any gameplay issues I have are just I'm bad at these kind of games. So the saloon feature is also really interesting because it's a bunch of mini games, and in the catalog description it says they're like WarioWare game vibes, but honestly to me it's reminiscent of old games that packed in a bunch of mini games into one. And so it creates this sort of contained environment that you can spend a really long time in. If you get tired of the main game, there's a ton of mini games. You can play those for a break, go back to the main game, but there's a very nostalgic feel to how it's packaged. Crankstone also was nominated for Best Continued Support from the Playdate Community Awards. And you can see why, because there's 2 holiday modes, one for Christmas and one for Halloween, that are really cute, and it's just always really cool to see devs adding new treats and new features to a game even once it's out. If you are a gallery shooter fan, I definitely recommend this game. There are a number of shoot 'em ups on the Playdate. I feel like it's one of the most popular genres for any kind of independent console or homebrew console. And a number of these shoot 'em ups are also very groundbreaking in what they do and very notable, which is very cool. But nonetheless, I was very excited for Voidblazers because it has more of a sustaining structure and story and container to it than a typical high score chaser shoot 'em up. And shoot 'em ups are one of those genres that I find a lot of fun, but I'm horrible at. But on the flip side, I have also played shoot 'em ups that are way too easy. And I think Voidblazers, I haven't finished or played a ton of it, but as much as I have played, has felt very fair and very engaging. I really like the art style that's very visually legible while also being interesting. The enemies are very much based on like bug looks, but it's not gross, it's just neat. There's also an array of characters in the game that are interesting and fun and don't feel like they're just there to fill the space. You can get power-ups and stuff throughout the game as well by earning currency and then spending it at the shop of this weird little French bug, just like in real life. And yeah, Voidblazers is, I think, my favorite shoot 'em up right now on Playdate. And if you are kind of in the middle when it comes to shoot 'em up skills like me, I definitely recommend picking this up. Outside Parties is one of those games where I wish I could play it again for the first time, and also one of those games which I think will be a definitive Playdate game, in that when people are talking about what games make the Playdate special, what games really take advantage of what this device is, I think Outside Parties will be one of them. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers and really just talk about the conceit of the game. You find a yellow device with a crank, and you are sort of in communication one way with a woman voiced by Mary McGarren on the other side. She does a phenomenal job of voice acting, and it's kind of giving Firewatch in terms of the faceless companion that guides you in a way and accompanies you throughout the game. And the mechanic of it is that essentially you get hints, and those lead to finding targets on this sort of Google Earth view of this planet. That sounds like easy, but what makes it interesting is you use the crank to adjust the contrast of the screen. So it's like, oh, okay, so you just set it to the correct contrast, right? But no, because it plays a lot with shadows and with light. And so sometimes, yeah, you have to make it darker, but sometimes you have to make it brighter. And so it's constantly using the D-pad move around and focusing in and out with the crank. And just the imagery on this map is so intriguing and occult. And there are also hints and answers on a website. So it's not some sort of, you're not getting that retro game experience of being completely stuck with no help. The lore behind the game is also very cool, and you can access that and read up on it before or after playing. I did so before, and I thought that it was a very cool conceit of this sort of secret society, and kind of basing that off of a real person, even though, you know, that pseudo-realistic narrative. The sound design is also just really stellar, and just overall, yeah, this is a very cool game, very inventive, very, yeah, not something that I knew what to expect going in. And I think that's how you should go in too. Definitely one of my favorite Playdate experiences. When the Playdate first came out, I was like, where are the rhythm games at? And I'm really glad that in the time since, there have been a handful that have shown up. And Agents of Groove was one that I was following from fairly early-ish on, because it is a rhythm game. And so I was pretty excited to give it a whirl. The gameplay mechanic in Agents of Groove is fairly simple in terms of the buttons come up and you press them, very much in line with most rhythm games, DDR, etc. But what makes it interesting is that sometimes you use the buttons, sometimes you use the buttons and the crank. And another common mechanic is you use the crank to keep the beat while you match buttons with the on-screen prompts. I think that's really cool, because it's one thing to make a rhythm game for the Playdate, and it's another to have the crank be a part of that, because it's not what you immediately think of. What you immediately think of is to use the buttons, or if you use the crank, to use that for some kind of movement. The gameplay is framed by a story that's pretty cheesy and kind of inconsequential, but fun all the same. You are a part of Agents of Groove, and there's a conflict, and you have to get to the resolution. And the way you move through this story is you don't have a character or anything, you're not moving within the space. And so that's what makes the gameplay segments really interesting, is instead of just having every gameplay segment be the same and be a song that you have to play towards, there's like stealth segments, there's kind of like dance-off segments, and so there's a lot of variety to keep you from getting bored, especially if a level is particularly frustrating. Sometimes I didn't feel like playing that style of level again, and so there would be a reprieve with a different kind of gameplay loop, and I thought that was really clever. The game also has so many accessibility options where you can kind of control how easy or difficult certain aspects are down to a minutia. For example, making it not matter which button you press, disabling crank input, making certain levels easier, making, unlosable missions. And those were definitely helpful for me as well. And you don't get like a bad ending or something just because you used an accessibility mode. And the reason that was helpful for me is what kind of goes into my critique a little, which is that the area for where the notes are passing is like 1/8 of the screen, maybe. And it's really small. And while I think it's really cool that there's stuff going on and there's like animations and stuff, it's not what I'm paying attention to. If I start looking at the animation, I start missing my notes and my inputs. So the fact that it's so small, it's not like as much of a problem in the beginning, but as the game gets progressively harder and more notes are coming out, especially with the introduction of false notes, which you were supposed to skip, it becomes really overwhelming and frustrating because it's like, no, it's not that I can't do this. It's that I'm just not able to visually process it fast enough. So it would be really great if the input area was actually like a third or half, maybe a quarter, if we're gonna go small, of the screen real estate. Because as it is, it's really challenging. It's not the most tiny. There's in Cappy Spa, there's a little rhythm game that pops up sometimes, and that's teeny tiny, and I always fail it. Something else that would be neat is if you were able to revisit levels. You can skip the cutscenes entirely, and that can help you go through the levels faster. But if you want to play them out of order or revisit a level, it's not possible to do as of now, as of me playing the game. So that would be really neat. So that way you can play it in a more arcade style format. And also it would be really helpful for this review video. But that being said, one of the most important things is the music, and the music is so good. And the fact that you have a jukebox and you can listen to the music at your own time without having to input along with it is absolutely stellar. So if you're into rhythm games, definitely worth considering Agents of Groove, because I had a lot of fun and there's a lot of creative decisions that are made. Xorbius is so good. It's an arcadey game that you can play forever and ever and ever. And you basically control this little circle, and you use the crank to move the gun and the D-pad to move yourself, and you destroy these blocks. And then at a certain point, you get a power-up, and then you destroy the power-up and you get a gigantic laser, and you can destroy everything with that laser. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's not easy to get super far, but it's very addictive. It's one of those easy to pick up, hard to master kinds of games. And it's just visually so clean. It's so simple, but it's also just very, very fun and hypnotic to look at. And also the soundtrack is amazing. I love the music so much. It takes a while for the song to start to ramp up. So anytime I die, I'm more pissed that I have to wait a while for the music to get bumping again before I can really get into it. I'm less annoyed that I lost my streak or whatever. Definitely give this a look if you are into this kind of game, because it is so fun. Subdivision is more of a story or a poem or a meditation than a game. It has 3 modes: elegy, devotional, and chill. And it is for Charlie, who is the dev's pup that passed away. And it's a meditation on the grief that follows. And it's really sweet and wholesome. And if you like that kind of storytelling, definitely worth picking up. The elegy is the main story, essentially, and you kind of just play through it. There's some interactiveness to it, but not a ton. And then devotional is a sort of observation-based storytelling over the course of 10 days. You can just skip through all the days in one go, but I chose to do it over 5 days, and I did 2 days each. and I thought that was nice. It was a bit of a ritual of sorts, and it's also very poetic. And finally, with the chill mode, you play as the puppy and you just run around your backyard and chase squirrels and bark. So if you are into either playing as a dog that barks and chases squirrels, or you're into this sort of poetic meditation, then this definitely is something to check out. It's a very, very sweet dedication. Mystery Scrolls is a cool puzzle game with a really interesting mechanic because you alternate between two different styles of gameplay. So first off, you have the maze sections where you use either just the D-pad or the D-pad and the crank to move the ball through the maze, find the key, and then move through the maze to get to the door into the other side. This then reveals a clue, and you use that clue to guess the word on the next level. The words are all related to like fantasy, so you kind of have a vague gist of it. So far, I haven't had really any trouble with guessing the word. So if you're looking for a challenging word game, I wouldn't say that this would be it. However, it's just really satisfying as a little break from the maze part, and it's just a very addictive 1-2 step. The sound design is also really incredible. I really wish that I could feel comfortable just using the crank and D-pad, but the D-pad on its own feels much faster as a way to move the ball around. But yeah, using the crank is like so much more tactile. It's just the D-pad's faster. And because it's like with the maze, I'm trying to find the stuff really fast. And then with the word, it's pretty clear usually what it is. I end up just sticking to the D-pad. But yeah, this one's a lot of fun. I quite enjoy it. Crankshaft is also by Tubu, who also made Mystery Scrolls, and it's also a lot of fun again. It's a crank-based game where there's a ball speeding and you just have to move the pole that the ball is going on so that you avoid hitting any of the barriers. The nice thing is that you can bounce back from barriers or break them, and that just breaks your streak. It doesn't make you start over, which I feel like is slightly less common for this type of game. But as you progress, different types of barriers show up. So there are some that you really can't hit and you will have to start again. The music and sound design, just like the previous game, are fantastic. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. My only gripe with this is that the level loading, the black screen, takes quite a long time to shift. But that's just a minor nitpick, and hopefully something like that can be fixed in an update. Oblings is a cute character creator with a really interesting and also very clever way of drawing out your character. You basically draw in circles and blobs that can connect or not, depending on if you're on the same layer or not. And then there's predefined features that you can also place. There's also a mirror feature so that you can get things done symmetrically. This is just really cool because there are like drawing apps and stuff on the Playdate, which is a lot of fun, but it's absolutely not the best device for drawing. In fact, it's probably one of the worst because it's really hard to get any sort of consistent curves. And also because of the limitation, I feel like it's more fun to make creatures because you don't have to think too hard about it, and there's a lot of happy accidents. Less happy accidents were my first Obling just would crash the game after I saved it. I did ask the dev, and I don't know if we ever figured it out, but it didn't happen again for the Oblings I made for the video. You can then place the Oblings in a room and you can sort of remove some of the decorations or place the decorations, but that's kind of about it. So I feel like it has the potential to be more of a Tamagotchi-esque, but there's not really a lot to do. I made 2 Oblings and put them in a room together and thought maybe they would interact, but they didn't. So that would be something I'd love to see in the future. More ways to interact with them, more interactions between them. Even if there was a way to import assets, that would be very cool. Like making your own little accents and stuff to add to the catalog of features and also to the room. That could add another layer of fun. But yeah, it's definitely, I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the really innovative way of drawing out your creatures. Also, the tutorial on its own is just so hilarious and well written, and I really, really want more of that. And I don't know if that could be like interactions between the Oblings or something, but there's just so much potential in the attitude of the tutorial. Zelda likes are very common in homebrew and more community-driven devices. So with Gilly and the Isle of Sorrow, I thought that I knew what to expect. I said sorrow like with a Canadian accent or something right then. That was weird. But it's a very simply drawn and kind of familiar, probably if you've seen this type of game, vibe that you get from it. But I actually feel like it stands apart from a lot of similar games because first off, the story is a lot more mystical and fantastical than I thought it would be. And it actually, spoiler, kind of ends on a cliffhanger. So I do know the dev is working on a sequel, and I'm quite excited for that. But one thing that I really, really have to applaud this game for is a lot of games of this ilk try really hard to recapture something like in a Game Boy Zelda game, which is a lot more feature and visually rich. And that ends up getting you soft locked a lot or walking and constantly pressing A and just making things difficult in a way that is supposed to make the game more robust, but it actually makes it frustrating. This game did not do that. So it has a variety of things for you to do. There are puzzles, there are things that you have to find and unlock doors, there's enemies, there's some mild backtracking, but there's also saving, there's also potions, there's also a very clear visual language of where things are. There's never the kind of the Pokemon check every trash can curse does not come up. And I really appreciate that because it really feels like it's respecting the player's time and also acknowledging its own limitations in order to give a gameplay and story experience that ends up being really fun and delightful. So definitely give this game a look and be on the lookout for the sequel. I'm definitely looking forward to that because I have questions. I was so excited for Devils on the Moon because it's by Amano, and Amano is 2 devs, and they also made Bullfrog, which if you guys have seen previous Playdate videos, it's also one of my favorite games on Playdate, and I also have it on Pico 8 now. I just love their art style and their gameplay, and they're just really, really great at what they do. So I was very excited for this game, and also because at least not that I'm aware of, there's no like pinball game or like, you know, meaty pinball game at least on the Playdate. And it just looked so good having it, the full game in front of me. It's like, yep, no, it looks amazing. It's beautiful. It's definitely of the Pokemon pinball and Kirby pinball and all the friends era of inspiration. I'm just looking at the screen right now and forgetting how to talk because it's just so visually stunning. All the little details are so interesting and engaging. And does anyone actually know how to play pinball? Because I don't. Like, I know the levers, and I've been playing pinball since Space Cadet 3D or whatever that came on Windows computers. Never forget what they took from us. But like, I don't know what the point of like bumping is, like the right bumper and bump up and bump down and bump it all around. Sometimes I'll just do it, but it doesn't help. Sometimes it hurts, and I just, because I do it in a panic where I'm pressing everything. Anyway, I don't know how scoring works. I don't know how anything works. I just know this game is not only so fun, but it's just so nice to look at. And yeah, absolutely, if you're a fan of Pokemon Pinball or any of the other Game Boy Advance pinball games, you should get this. I think this is also another game that to me would be like, this is a definitive Playdate game because it's just like it looks 3D in some parts. It's just very, very visually amazing and a fantastic job to Amano, and I am always really excited to see what they're gonna do next. All right, that was a wonderful array of games. Interesting and creative and fun and like unexpected. I would love to know which one your favorite was, which one you might pick up. And huge thank you to all the devs who sent me their games. It's just so much fun playing them. And it means a lot that you would trust me to share them with my little community as well. If you are a Playdate dev and you want to be in one of these roundups, feel free to email me. Just know that I am the most disorganized YouTuber in the world. I don't forget anything. I don't forget things most of the time. I just take a really long time because I just want to like give it 100%, you know, and you can't give it 100% by doing things really, really quickly. I'd also be interested in hearing you guys' thoughts on season 3. Like, what do you think they're gonna bring us? Is there anything you're like thinking you'd like to see in season 3? I feel like it's a hard topic to try to pick through, given how surprising season 2 was with the introduction of Blippo Plus. Like, how do you outdo that in terms of novelty and surprise? Not that they need to, but also even just on a regular game release level, I feel like games are constantly outdoing each other. I, at one point, had put out a little post on the Playdate Discord, and I was like, you know, if anyone wants to make like a game with like voice acting or something, or FMV or whatever, I would love to collab on that. And I got like one person who was saying that that would be impossible due to the file size. And I just think it's so funny because like a few months later we got Blippo Plus, and we even have games like Outside Parties, which are very audio driven. So it really feels like these boundaries are constantly being broken, and just more and more elaborate things are coming out on Playdate. Another one of the announcements was Playdate for Education, which I think is incredibly cool that Playdate is being used like from a level of like kindergartners up to master's students in order to teach coding and game dev and stuff. And it makes me honestly feel a little stupid because I feel like too scared to try it because it seems like it would give me a headache. But then they're like, oh, kindergartners are doing this. So maybe I'll have to figure out how to get into that. A huge thank you as always to my Ko-fi supporters. Their names are scrolling down now. And if you would like to join my Ko-fi, what that gets you is write-ups, game reviews. If you would prefer to stay on YouTube, I did turn on YouTube memberships. You get a backlog of all of the Ko-fi videos. You don't get the write-ups, but I'm also considering uploading VODs of my Twitch streams onto the members only channel. I don't know if that's something you guys would be interested in, but I don't know. I figured what's the harm in turning it on if for some reason you just don't want to have Ko-fi and YouTube. Speaking of live streams, I am still fundraising for my cat Marcel and his 15K ICU bill. He is doing so much better now, but the bills obviously still exist. They're due by July, and we've raised over 7,000 at this point, which is almost, I would say, half of what needs to be paid off, which is incredible. And I am so grateful and stunned, and also just disturbed by just how much money that is. But I have the GoFundMe campaign here, and I've been using streams as like for fundraising, so that the money I get through subs and however you get money on Twitch, that's going towards his bills. And of course, hopefully those streams encourage people to donate as well. If you want to share the fundraiser, share the streams, that would be really awesome. So far as what I've been doing on the streams is some gameplay. I played the Tomodachi Life demo the other day. That was a lot of fun. And also I've done some modding, some really random stuff as well. Like I built a Gundam that I was hanging on for 2 years after it was gifted to me by a wonderful viewer. It's definitely a very random grab bag of things, but I am trying my best to be a little entertaining, at least. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your cool uncle Marissa, and don't forget that you are always welcome at Cool Uncle's house. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.